Singh, Shri Prabodh Acharya, Shri Alpesh Mehta, Shri Kamachi Mudali, all the distinguished participants of this very important 6th India Steel 2025 exhibition and conference, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to express my sincerest condolences to all the unfortunate victims of the Pahalgam attack across the country from Kargil to Kanyakumari. There is outrage at this dastardly attack on India's very fabric. We are all united in grief. We pray for the departed. We wish all those who are injured an early recovery and hope God gives strength to the families of all those who were deeply impacted by this extremely heinous and criminal act of these terrorists from across the border. I remember Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee had said, cross-border and state-sponsored terrorism is a menace to civilized society. And truly, this is a moment when the entire country comes together and in one voice expresses both their anger and the collective commitment of the nation to give a fitting response to all those responsible for this heinous crime. As the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji said in his address in Bihar, we will identify, trace and punish every terrorist and their backers. And that is the resolve of India. That is the resolve of every Indian. But India has shown its resilience time and again. I hail from Mumbai. This is my home city. We had faced a very severe terrorist attack on 26th of November 2008. We emerged stronger after that. After the Pulwama attack on our army Jawans, we gave a befitting reply to their sponsors. Just like the steel industry is the backbone of our economy, the backbone of our growth story of Viksit Bharat 2047, just like the nation stands in resolve today, I think the steel industry also has a resolution, has a tryst with their destiny, how to make India not only Atmanirbhar in the steel sector, but the steel as an industry playing an important role in our journey in Amrit Kal, in our journey towards a developed, a prosperous nation when we celebrate 100 years of independence. Whether it is shipping, whether it is shipbuilding, whether it's railways, defense, automobiles, infrastructure across the country, telecom towers, electricity transmission units, transformers, buildings, every walk of life. As was said earlier, there is a little bit of steel in anything and everything in our life. From humble beginnings in Jamshedpur, where the Indian steel industry found its moorings, we are today the second largest producer in the world. The Indian steel industry makes India proud, having taken India across continents, across the world. But is that enough? Can we rest on our laurels? Can we be satisfied with our achievements? I think that's something which we all have to address. We all have to decide collectively in the industry. I was just reading the various sessions that have been crafted as a part of this conference-cum-exhibition. And I think that you have very beautifully brought out the various facets that the steel industry will have to focus on in the years to come. Of course, the role of steel in the economy, in this journey towards Viksit Bharat, will be huge. But we cannot ignore the importance of a good raw material strategy. We cannot ignore that logistics and efficient logistics will be integral to the success of this journey that the steel industry has set out on. As was said by the SAIL ex-chairman, we cannot but decarbonize and make green steel, make our steel plants more efficient to address the challenges of climate change. We will have to augment our capacity in specialty steels, for which we have come out with a PLI scheme also, a substantive effort from the government to support your industry to ensure that all the needs, particularly the automobile sector or high quality steels requirements, are met within the country. In all of this, productivity, efficiency, good quality will be determined with adoption of modern technologies. Digitalization will play an important role as we move forward. And across our targets, and I disagree with the organizers when they say, and I saw the title of our session was 500 million tons by 2047. I would like to join issue with this target, because if we are looking at 300 million tons by 2030, and I've just heard you say, Mr. Pondrick, that steel industry will have a delta of 1.5x of our growth, then we are looking at growing the economy or doubling the economy every 7 years. 8 years at best. By that logic, you have decided a target to double your steel capacity by 2030 in 5 years. And then after that, we have 2 cycles of 8 years going forward. You can do the maths. But clearly 500 million tons is a suboptimal target. We should, I think, aspire at least to go up to the level of our nearest competitor. And why can we not aspire to be the world's largest manufacturer of steel by 2047? And I would, as a humble offering to this conference, and I hope this date will be remembered in history sometime, for having reset our targets, for having rejigged the confidence of the industry. We must aspire to bring steel into newer walks of life. For example, I think most developed nations have gone into precast, prefabricated building structures. I think we should seriously consider whether at least in the cities we can begin with prefabricated buildings. And look at, while it may be slightly more expensive, and possibly the steel industry should look at some R&D to see how we can make that cost or that additional delta minimal and make that up with faster construction, make that up with lower pollution. When I go to my constituency in North Mumbai and see the amount of construction all over and the pollution that is caused with in situ cement being cast, with in situ slabs being cast, with in situ sand and cement and all of the products adding to the entire pollution in the area, I wonder why we cannot think in terms of at least beginning with the 6 or 7 large cities or possibly taking it to all the metro areas and then to tier 2, tier 3 cities. Can the steel industry, in partnership with the government, in partnership with Niti Aayog, in partnership with some international experts, come up with a framework which will make it a compelling case and attract the real estate sector to go in for precast, prefabricated buildings. You can save time hugely. You can save interest cost massively. You can reduce pollution in a big way. You will reduce the inconvenience caused by hundreds and thousands of trucks transporting material by just taking precast or prefabricated structures. And as we see in many parts of the world, literally from scratch to a 100-story tower coming up in 3 years, if not less. I think that is the kind of ambitions that an important conference and exhibition like this one should be delving its efforts on, showing a direction to the industry. That is how demand will be generated. Economies of scale will help our steel become more cost effective and therefore make that additional cost minimal and attractive for everybody to follow. The multifarious benefits will make it a compulsive case, need not be mandated by the government. Let it be self-adoption, but make it such a compulsive case that it adds to the demand for your industry, adds to business opportunities, and collectively we as a nation can stand to benefit. In fact, the government of India, through its huge infrastructure push, is making every effort to advance the cause of the steel industry, to promote the usage of steel. All our programs, whether it is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, our effort to expand our railway network, our airport network, our ports, our highways and expressways, all of these are efforts in the direction of bringing new opportunities for the steel industry. Our desire to see every family have a proper home so that every child born in this country grows up in good environment will add to the demand for steel. Already 4 crore homes have been built under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Another 3 crore homes are expected to be built until 2029-30. We are trying to make the cities slum-free so that every slum dweller gets a good home for his family, for his children, in situ, replacing the slums wherever they are with proper high-rise buildings and cross-subsidizing that with the sale component or the commercial component of that area. This will add to your demand for steel amongst other growing demand for building materials. I think the direction of this government to promote Make in India and promote manufacturing in a big way, increase the share of manufacturing in India, will also give huge opportunities with construction of factories, with use of steel in the Make in India initiative. In fact, in many government projects, we have made Indian-made steel compulsory. I'm working on at least 10 or 12 free trade agreements with countries or bloc of countries like the EU, which will mean 27 countries within one bloc. And in every one of them, we are working to see how we can get greater access for our cost-effective and high-quality steel sector. We are working to ensure that our international engagements, and that was the last chapter in your various seminars that you are proposing to hold, expanding international cooperation. And in this global turmoil that we are seeing, the turbulence all across, the uncertainties, one thing is for certain: the world is looking up to India. The world sees India contributing nearly 1/6 of global growth. The world sees India as the fastest growing global economy, large economy. The world sees India growing into the world's third largest economy by 2027. And see the journey. It was only in 2014 that the then Finance Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, while presenting the budget or the interim budget of 14, had visualized that the country will grow from the 11th largest economy to the third largest economy in about 30 years. Possibly he was keeping such a long time frame because he had seen that in their 10 years of government from 4 to 14, the country had hardly moved the needle and remained stagnant in the world rankings. But they had not realized that Mr. Modi's government was on the way. They could not imagine that a fragile 5 economy will become a top 5 economy in barely 10 years. And a target that was set in 14 by Mr. Chidambaram of the Congress to make India the third largest economy by 2044, in 30 years. The nation, with the collective energy and resolve, with the cooperation and collaboration of all of you, ladies and gentlemen, with that burning desire of Indian industry to succeed, with 140 crore Indians desirous of a better quality of life, aspiring for a better future for their families, we will achieve the target not in 2044, but in 2027 itself. And the biggest beneficiary of this growth story, as we grow from a $4 trillion economy today to a $30 or $35 trillion economy by 2047, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be your industry. It is the steel industry which will be the biggest beneficiary. And therefore, I appeal to you, our 100 kilograms per capita consumption cannot satisfy any of us. We have to make it 700 kilograms per capita consumption. We have to aspire to be a billion-ton steel producing nation. But at the same time, high quality, high efficiency, low carbon impact, these are going to be important elements. Way back in 14 itself, Prime Minister Modi gave this message to the world that India is going to be a zero defect, zero effect nation. Every element of our value chain, of our supply chain, of our production ecosystem should focus on high quality and reducing the climate change impact that become more sustainable in our manufacturing operations. At the same time, we cannot be expensive. We'll have to be cost effective. We'll have to ensure that we are the highest efficiency, the lowest cost. I'm told even now, some of our plants in India are the lowest cost per ton in the entire world. We need to take that to every steel manufacturer, whether it is a government company like SAIL or the private sector, whether it's a new age company or a traditional 100-year-old company. The entire industry will have to resolve to study our practices to become more cost effective. I remember in my growing up days, and by the way, I'm a person who comes from the steel industry. I don't know if any of you is aware of that at all. My own father was an engineer from Banaras Hindu University, and all his life he worked in the steel industry. He worked from 49 to 51 in Devidyal Industries in the Bombay Port Trust area. And by the way, he didn't even have a home to stay in those days. He used to stay in the Bombay Port Trust. And the rats were so many that he had to take the spare parts down from the shelf so he could sleep on the shelf at night to save his toes from being bitten by the rats. And from there the journey started. 51 he joined Mukund. I wonder if Mukund is participating in this. It's a Bajaj Group company, but I don't see them in the sponsors. आपने पूरा एफर्ट नहीं किया स्पॉन्सर्स लेने में लगता है. He worked 30 years in the steel industry. And today when we talk of Atmanirbharta, I swell with pride because way back in the 60s, he had recognized, and they were running electric arc furnaces, which is today found to be more efficient from the sustainability angle than the blast furnaces. Mukund had electric arc furnaces. And he realized that we are importing all these electric arc furnaces. We are importing all the concast equipment. And he went around the world, did collaborations in the 60s, set up a machine building division in Kurla, which I am told is now closed down, possibly shifted also to their Kalwa plant. But in the 60s, India started becoming self-reliant in manufacturing of steel plant equipment. With ABB, they had a collaboration to make electric arc furnaces. Concast machines were being made in India. That is the strength of your industry. And I would urge all of you, give preference to local manufacturers. Those equipments which are not made in India, encourage somebody in India to make those equipments. Because remember, COVID was a wake-up call. Those who are dependent on other parts of the world can one day suddenly find themselves in a problem. Supply chains can come under severe stress. It could be a shipping stress, like we saw when the sea routes were affected. It can be a sudden surge in cost of freight. It can be a problem in the oil crisis. It can be a spurt in the coking coal prices, which went up to $300 or $350 at one point of time. With all of these stresses, as much as we become self-sufficient, which is why we came out with the specialty steels PLI scheme. We need to be self-sufficient in all the grades of steel, but without compromising on quality. Also, we have brought out a safeguard duty last week or earlier this week only to support your industry, to protect your industry from dumping. But I have two requests concurrently to make. One, you should also see your supply chain so that wherever there is an Indian supplier, you will give preference to that Indian supplier and not conveniently import your requirements to the detriment of some other Indian company or Indian manufacturer. A case in point was the met coke industry. I had appealed to the steel industry several times to buy met coke from Indian manufacturers. We had sufficient Indian capacity, but sadly the steel industry did not support the met coke manufacturers, And we almost came to a situation to become totally dependent on imports of met coke, and the entire Indian manufacturing ecosystem almost died down. It's just a wake-up call. Like you need protection from dumping, or you need protection from low-quality steels being imported into the country at irrational prices. You have a duty, an obligation to support your supply chain. And I hope this message goes down deep, not only to the steel industry, to everybody across the country. Karma comes back on all of us. Today you may feel something is good to import and save a few dollars, a few rupees. कभी ना कभी आपके कर्म आपको जवाब दे ही देंगे. And if you don't support somebody else, tomorrow a day and time may come and there will be nobody left to support you also. And I think this is the message that we must all take. You are seeing this message being spoken of across the borders. You are seeing this message from other countries who are recognizing, just as India had recognized many years ago, that we have to be Atmanirbhar, we must be self-reliant. Today even the advanced countries are talking of self-reliance, are talking of Atmanirbharta, are talking of reshoring, of getting back manufacturing into their countries. It's a wake-up call for all of us. It's a wake-up call that we will have to support each other and make resilient supply chains and be self-reliant through the various processes, through our entire requirement. And the best way forward for this is to benchmark yourselves to the best in the world. Take a cue or two from countries like Japan and Korea, who don't allow even Indian steel into their market, not by the government intervention. Local industry itself supports each other. The local users of steel in Japan and Korea don't allow any other steel to enter their country. They give preference to their local steel, even if it is slightly more expensive. But ताली दो हाथ से बजती है. आपको भी यही चीज अपने सप्लायर्स के लिए करनी पड़ेगी, तब आपके कस्टमर्स आपकी तरफ इस नजरिए से देखेंगे. So that is one request. And the second request is, at no point of time, and I've been repeating it at every single occasion, at no point of time will we allow India to become a route for transshipment or for breaking the rules of origin so that other countries bring material into India, maybe do some little bit of processing and supply it to a third country, calling it a made in India product. If anybody does that for any product whatsoever, I request Indian industry and all of you to be whistleblowers, to inform your respective ministry or the Commerce Ministry, the Commerce and Industry Ministry in my office or the DGFT office. But at no point of time will India ever lend itself to any irregular practices, to any transshipment of goods. And the best way, and that ultimately will safeguard all of you, the best way is that we all keep our eyes and ears open. We keep monitoring what is coming in, any irregular practices that come to our attention. And if we work as a team, we cooperate with the government and cooperate with each other. We collaborate, the entire industry collaborates as one. We can continue to compete. Competition is good for the economy. But in terms of integrity of our businesses, we must collaborate and ensure that India's brand India's image, India's integrity remains intact across the world. Our brand is our biggest strength. The trust that we have earned of the whole world. Today India is called a trusted partner, which is why so many people are coming and want to do free trade agreements, want to expand business with us, want to have bilateral trade agreements with us, want to have comprehensive economic partnerships with us, because they trust you, they trust India, and they trust that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, this country will achieve big goals, big, hairy, audacious goals, but ethically and with high integrity. Will meet their commitments to the world, both in quality, in timely deliveries, in price. And therefore, let us together work towards making Indian steel industry the proud torchbearer of India's journey in the Amrit Kal towards Viksit Bharat 2047. Let us set big benchmarks. Let us set big goals. Let us aspire to be a world leader. Let us meet the needs of the world with zero defect, zero effect. And as the Honorable Prime Minister said, and I quote, our steel sector has to be ready for new processes, new grades and new scale. Let's build a resilient, revolutionary and steel-strong India. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for addressing this August gathering. And a special thanks for your encouragement and motivation. We express our profound gratitude towards the Honorable Minister for his precious time. And as a token of appreciation, I request Shri Sandeep Pondrik, Secretary, Ministry of Steel, Government of India, to please present a memento to Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Government of India.